Do you remember this eyeshadow palette? Urban Decay Naked Heat. This came out in 2017, so it is 6 years old. It is a little bit of an old eyeshadow palette, but it is a cult classic. It's a favourite amongst so many people, and it's obviously one of the infamous naked palettes from Urban Decay. It is full of these beautiful, warm, earthy, rich, vibrant shades, these beautiful golds, coppers, browns, reds, burgundies, mattes in here, along with some shimmers as well. And what I thought would be interesting would be to do a new mini series on my channel where I use my eyeshadow palette, so use the makeup that you currently own. And this is going to be really good to help stop yourselves from being tempted by new makeup releases, because if you're anything like me, if you tend to kind of stick to similar tones, I love warm brown earthy shades, and that's the kind of makeup that I get tempted by. But I have lots of shades like that already within my collection because I like them, so I buy them. So instead of me getting tempted by new releases, I can look within my collection and go, well, I've got similar shades already. And also, we buy makeup to use the makeup, so get your palettes out, get your old palettes out, and just get using them and get a little bit creative, see the different types of looks that you can come up with, try some new colour matches as well within the palettes that you might not have already tried. And it's really nice as well to see progress within your palettes. So these two bottom shades here, I have pan in these shades because this pan is part of my pan in every eyeshadow palette challenge. So it's really nice to see that you're using your makeup. As pretty as pristine new makeup is, it is nice to see that your makeup is getting used and it's getting loved. So obviously I'm kicking off this new little series with the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. So I have done the rest of my makeup. I've just got a little bit of Vive Pesca lip gloss on my lips because I don't know what lip colour to pair with the eyeshadow look yet. So I'm going to be putting on some eyeshadow from this palette and solely from this palette, and we'll see what kind of look I can create. So first things first, prime my eyelids, and I'm just going to use the MAC Paint Pot in Painterly. I have oily eyelids, so this is an absolute necessity for me to do to help prevent creasing and help my eyeshadow last all day. So I'm going to start with this part of the eyeshadow palette, the lightest part of the eyeshadow palette. Now, to be totally honest with you, I do not touch these top 3 shades here, which are Enfuego, Ashes and Ember, because these 3 are a little bit too dark for me. I don't like to go too dark with my eyeshadows. So yeah, these are a little bit too dark for me and they do make my eyes look a little bit sunken. But if you love yourself a really smoky look and something different to your usual brown smoky look or like a grey black smoky look, you can go for something a little bit more purple and red up here and that would look beautiful. But for me, I tend to kind of stick down here. So I'm going to use the shade Chaser that I have hit pan in with a flat packer brush to set my eyeshadow base. And this is a really good skin tone eyeshadow for me, so if you have a similar complexion to myself, this is a really great shade. So if you're not really into makeup and wearing lots of colours on a day-to-day basis, if you're possibly a little bit more creative of a weekend or an evening when you get to play and you want something just simple for the day, this shade is a really good option. Now there are 2 crease shades that I would use on my skin tone. So there is Sourced and Low Blow beneath it, fairly kind of similar in tone. I would say that Low Blow is darker and not quite as warm. So I think I'm going to use a bit of Sourced as my crease shade, and then I might define it a little bit more with Low Blow. There is a fair amount of kickback with this palette though, I will say that, but the shades are very, very pigmented and they are easy to blend. I do think that the mattes perform better in this palette compared to the shimmers. The shimmers are a little bit trickier to work with. I think they work better with a stickier base, so you might want to go in with a little bit more eyeshadow primer or a bit of glitter primer. I've got the NYX glitter primer, so I would do that. But the mattes are very easy to work with. I'm going to run some of Sourced under my lower lash line. And then with a slightly smaller, thinner blending brush, this is a Sigma E42 brush, this is really great for a bit of precision application and precision blending, I'm going to go for Low Blow, so the slightly darker of the two crease shades. And I'm going to target that a little bit lower, still above my crease because I have hooded eyes, so if I put it in the crease it's just going to disappear. So just slightly above it, just to add in a bit more of that socket line, or a fake socket line. Just zoomed you in a little bit more. So when you move past Low Blow, you're then really into this copper and sort of orange red territory. We tend to kind of abandon the browns down here. I suppose the only kind of shade that might be a little bit brown, kitchen is making some noise, not really sure what my boyfriend's doing, sorry if you can hear that. And then there's KN here, which is slightly brown I suppose, but this brown has got a lot of red behind it. So I think I'm going to go in with one of the shimmers next. I'm going to use the one that I'm trying to hit pan on, which is the shade Lumbre. There are 3 shimmers within this palette here, and I suppose this is my critique of this palette, is the shimmers, because I've mentioned that the shimmers don't perform too well, but also that they are very similar in shade. So especially Dirty Talk and Scorched, these two are very, very similar. Lumbre is just slightly lighter, but ideally for me, if I was building this palette, if I had any say over this palette, I would remove either Dirty Talk or Scorched and put in a gold shimmer instead, because I think that would work really nicely with these 2 brown ones here. But anyway, we're working with what we're working with, and I'm going to go for Lumbre, and I'm going to use this with my finger. So I do have better shimmers within my collection. So the ABH Norvina and Modern Renaissance shimmers, in my opinion, perform better than these ones do. But if you are a little bit scared of eyeshadow, then maybe this formulation is better for you because it's easier to build up. But if you're a seasoned pro, you know what you're doing, you've got the skills, you've got the confidence, then you might find these shimmers a little bit frustrating. I am going to go in with a darker shimmer. I think I want to go for Dirty Talk. In the pan, Dirty Talk looks a little bit more pure red. I think Scorch is verging into purple territory. It might look different when it's on your eyes. I can't remember. I haven't used these 2 shimmers in a while. These are arguably my least touched pans in this eyeshadow palette. So I will go for Dirty Talk next. I'll put some of that on the outer corner. Yeah, so slightly darker than Lumbre, but still got a nice amount of red behind it. I will take a blush and blend that out. Yeah, so just put the excess of the 2 on my hands here. So this one is Lumbre, and then above it is, what did I just use? Dirty Talk. And actually, if I just swatch Scorched for you so you can see what Scorched looks like. Yeah, Scorched is that bit darker, and actually it isn't leaning purple, it is still fairly red. Let's use a clean blending brush instead. Now, a critique of this palette that a lot of people do say is that the shades do have a tendency to kind of merge into one, so it is better to use fewer shades in this palette and shades that have more contrast. So where these 2 shimmer shades are fairly similar, so they are slightly, Dirty Talk is slightly darker than Lumbre. Now that I'm blending it out and I'm trying not to go over the other shade, they are blending into each other a little bit, so I am ending up with a bit of a orangey red look. So if you do like a really defined eye with clear separation between your shadows, then stick to just a couple of shadows within this palette. Oh, I do have the eyeshadow brush that came with it. I'm not that keen on this brush though. I have kept it along with oh, it must be into the wash, along with the eyeshadow brush from the Naked 2 palette that I've got. So you have like a pointy tapered brush on one side, and then you have a flat packer brush on the other side, but this one is a bit more of a fluffier flat packer brush compared to the Naked 2 one. But I will actually just use this brush to tidy up around the edges. I think I need a little bit more definition under the lower lash line, so I'm going to take a matte red in the palette called He Devil, and I'm going to run some of that under the lower lash line. Not too much, because I don't want to look like I have pink eye, but where the lid is quite red now, just need to balance that up on the lower lash line. And actually I am going to put just a smidge of He Devil on the crease. And then just tidy that up again with a bit of chaser. Okay, so I want to line my lash line. Not really too sure if it's really going to kind of come through with this, but I want to do it anyway. So I am going to go for Cayenne, which is the darkest shade that I would use within this palette, because like I say, I wouldn't use the top three up here. So I'm going to use a bit of Cayenne on a angled brush. So this is where it would be good if there was a lighter shimmer shade, because I feel like this look needs something to just brighten it up a little bit. Now there is a champagne ivory shimmer shade, but that's more for sort of defining under the brow bone in a corner. But a lighter gold shimmer, I feel like this palette is really lacking. But you can make some really beautiful warm shades with this, looks with this rather. I tend to really use this palette in the autumn, because this palette just kind of really screams those typical autumn shades to me. But actually for me and my colouring, this is a year-round palette. And also this could be really lovely in the summer as well. If you get a bit of a tan, it's nice to go for a bit of a kind of bronze goddess effect with your makeup. A nice coral lip with this would work well. So this is showing up a bit. I don't really think you're gonna sort of see it from there, but looking in the mirror here, I can see that I've got a bit of definition at the lower lash line. And then a final shade that I'm going to use from the palette, I'm going to use some of Ounce, another shade that I have hit pan on, and I'm going to put some of this in my inner corner and under the brow bone. And yeah, this is what this look needs a bit of, just a bit of brightening there. Okay, eyeshadow done. I'm just going to whack on some mascara and I'll be right back. And then this is how it looks like with some mascara. So this is about 4 coats of mascara. So a brown volumizing one, and then my brown tubing one. And then lip is a little bit of like an orangey rust terracotta shade. It's an amalgamation of a couple of House of Colour lipsticks that I have. So this is the final look. So in total I used 8 eyeshadows from the palette. I used Ounce, Chaser, Sourced, Low Blow, Lumbre, He Devil, Dirty Talk and Cayenne. So I didn't use the 3 darkest shades here, and I also didn't use Scorched. Now on a day-to-day basis I wouldn't use as many as 8 eyeshadows, because like I say, they do have a tendency to kind of all blur into one, but I wanted to show you what all the colours look like, or what most of the colours in this palette look like. So if you own this palette, hopefully this has inspired you to get this palette out and get it used. But even if you don't have this palette, hopefully this has also inspired you to just use more of your makeup if you're not currently doing so. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up, and I will see you again very, very soon for my next video. Bye.